Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends.
Starring that jet-age aerial ace, Rocket J. Squirrel. And his pal, Bullwinkle the Moose.
Hi, glad to see you again.
Likewise.
We got some great things on the show today.
Like what? Like what?
Well, you ought to know, Bullwinkle. You're in some of them.
Well, let's get started.
Well, things are certainly in a mess since the return of the legendary Maybe Dick. For Maybe Dick is a wailing whale with a taste for the liner things of life. But all is not lost, for our heroes, Rocky and Bullwinkle, are all at sea, angling for the monster with a telephone pole as a fishing rod. Above them, Captain Peter Wrongway Peachfuzz is keeping a sharp lookout.
Never saw such a fog in all my life.
Captain, that's the bulkhead you're staring at.
I thought something was amiss. It's the first fog I ever saw with rivets on it.
And the good captain began to scan the ocean for any sign of Maybe Dick. Meanwhile, our heroes were trolling tensely from the stern of the ship.
Don't worry, Bullwinkle. We're sure to get a bite.
That's what I'm worried about.
Huh?
What's a good remedy for whale bite?
You know, Bullwinkle, I got a funny feeling we're being watched.
By who?
Whom?
Whom is watching us?
That's what I want to know.
We're being watched by whom?
Yeah, by whom?
By me, too.
But then suddenly the sharp-eyed squirrel spotted an object some distance from the ship.
Hokey smoke, Bullwinkle. Look there.
What is it, Rock?
It looks like a big shiny eye.
Well, I'll be jiggered. I've looked at the ocean lots of times, but this is the first time it ever looked back.
Rocky, Bullwinkle, there's a peeping Tom off the port bow.
We see it, Captain Peachfuzz.
What is it?
Just looks like a big eye floating by itself, way out in the middle of the ocean.
Maybe it's a private eye.
Perhaps it was Bullwinkle's bad joke, we'll never know, but the eye suddenly disappeared. And in its place, a strange-looking metal tube emerged from the sea and pointed at our friend.
Look out, Rocky! It may be loaded!
And loaded it was, for a huge jet of water shot out of the tube and swept our heroes off their feet.
Gee, this is terrible, Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I got nothing against bears, mind you, but it ain't Saturday yet.
Rocky, Bullwinkle, the boat is filling with water. We're foundering.
Floundering?
Foundering, Bullwinkle. He means all that water's sinking our boat.
Well, then there's only one thing to do.
What's that?
I wish I knew.
We gotta think of something in a hurry.
Yeah, or else take to the boats.
That's it, Bullwinkle. You got it.
Yeah, I know. What is it?
We'll take to the boat.
And desert a sinking ship? That's a ratty thing to do.
No, we'll row out in a lifeboat and try to turn that thing off.
Good idea, Rock. Come on.
But just as our heroes were about to launch the lifeboat, Rocky saw a strange sight in the wheelhouse.
Bullwinkle, look!
Yes, the wheelhouse had been filled with water, and Captain Peachfuzz was inside it, wig-wagging frantically.
You go ahead, Bullwinkle. I gotta save Captain Peachfuzz.
And Rocky dashed to the wheelhouse door and flung it open.
Now, what did you go and do that for, Rocky?
The wheelhouse was full of water.
I know it.
Didn't you signal open the door?
Of course not. I signaled hand me the soap.
Meanwhile, Bullwinkle had rowed out to the source of all their trouble.
That is the biggest water pistol I ever did see. Now, where does it turn off?
But try as he might, Bullwinkle couldn't find a nozzle or a valve anywhere.
Guess I'll have to make my own.
And with a bulge of mighty moose muscle, Bullwinkle tied the metal tube in a knot.
Nice going, Bullwinkle.
But Bullwinkle's action had a strange result, for suddenly...
It's that blinking eye again. Well, this time you won't get off so easy, Mr. Peeker. Gotcha!
Be careful, Bullwinkle.
Don't worry, Rock. I'll hold on to him till you...
And a hapless Bullwinkle was dragged beneath the surface with only an ominous trail of bubbles to mark his passing. Don't miss our next watery episode, Underwater Moose or the Aqua-lunk.
Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a little princess. Her father was a king, because that's how those things are. He loved his little princess, and so did all the people of the kingdom.
Huzzah for the little princess!
Huzzah?
Well, that's fairy tale for hooray!
Oh.
The little princess was very happy, and small wonder. She had everything and anything she wanted. Beautiful little jewels to wear, a lovely little garden to play in, a little mechanical horse to ride, even her own little castle to live in. All went well until one awful day when the princess began to grow. She grew, and she grew, and she grew. The people of the kingdom were greatly disturbed.
What's all the fuss?
The little princess has grown.
So, all princesses grow.
Like that?
Oh.
The king was very upset,
My little girl is all grown up.
but he made the best of it.
Nothing will change. You're still my little girl. You'll have everything just as before.
So the king summoned the royal jeweler and ordered him to make some special jewelry. It was huge. He commanded the royal gardener to grow some special flowers. They were enormous. He ordered the royal engineer to make a special mechanical horse. It was tremendous. He even told the royal architect to build a special castle right next to his own. After all that, you'd think everything would be fine. But no.
No? No, Your Highness. We're broke.
Broke?
Shattered. There's not a pazooza left in the treasury. Jewelry, garden, horse, castle, in that order. They all add up to broke.
Well, what do you suggest? To get some pazoozas.
What else? Taxes.
And so the people of the kingdom were taxed and taxed and taxed. There was a tax on fences.
100 pickets, 100 pazoozas.
There was a tax on trash.
3 cans, 3 pazoozas.
On doors.
1 door, 1 paz. 2 doors, 2 pazoozas.
There was even a tax on smoke.
7 puffs.
I know, 7 pazoozas.
And a tax on children.
8, 9, 10, 10 and a half pazoozas.
As a result of the taxes, the people of the kingdom became angry. And you know who they blamed?
It's her fault.
Look at those jewels. Rocks from the mountains would have done.
Look at that horse. It must have cost 1 million pazoozas a day to run that thing.
Small wonder we got high taxes.
Yeah, small wonder.
Why don't you get a job?
Yeah, you're big enough now.
Upon hearing this ridicule from the people who had once loved her, the princess became very sad.
Look at that.
We'll be flooded out.
You mark my word, next year we're going to have a tax on umbrellas.
In his castle nearby, the king was feeling very worried and sad and wet.
You know, she isn't the same happy princess.
So he summoned his royal cabinet for advice. The royal accountant, the royal lawyer, the royal writer, the royal efficiency expert, each of them gave their advice.
More taxes.
Tougher laws.
More publicity.
Get rid of her.
Get rid of her? But how?
Marry her off.
Brilliant! I shall give a golden slipper to the suitor who wins my daughter's hand.
A golden slipper? Isn't that rather a small prize?
If it's one of her slippers, it's big enough.
So a proclamation was made throughout the kingdom, and one by one the suitors arrived at the castle to ask for the princess' hand. When they actually saw it, though, they soon changed their minds. The princess became sadder and sadder.
King, you gotta do something. She'll wash out the crops.
So the king began to send the princess for long walks in the woods. One day, on one of her walks, she met a strange little man.
Hello, strange little man.
Hiya, Princess.
Aren't you going to run away because I'm so big?
Of course not. Aren't you gonna laugh because I'm so funny looking?
Of course not.
So they quickly became friends. Every day they would talk together about all kinds of things. They would laugh together. They even took long walks together. Then one day the princess said,
Perhaps you're an enchanted prince. Maybe if I kissed you, you would grow as big as I am.
Well, what do we got to lose?
So the princess kissed the funny-looking little man. He didn't change a bit.
I guess I'm, just not the enchanted type.
Ah, but something began to happen to the princess. She grew smaller and smaller and smaller until she was even smaller than the strange little man.
Oh, this is just the right size to be.
So the funny little man won the princess' hand, which was just the right size now. And he lived happily ever after, and she lived happily ever after, and the king lived happily ever after.
But what about the taxes?
Yeah, what about the taxes?
Oh, don't be silly. We can't have everybody living happily ever after.
out there in TV land, welcome to the big Bullwinkle and Rocky Fan Club Benefit Telethon. Yes, sir, you're gonna see such names as Bob Hope, Marlon Brando, Jane Mansfield, and Perry Como. But that's all you're gonna see, their names. For guests, we've got Rocket J. Squirrel, Boris Bedanov.
He's going to be really big shoe.
And our telephone girl, Natasha Fatal. The number to call with your donations is Sucker 92222. Or if that's busy, call Shakedown 56565. That's the Chinese restaurant downstairs. They'll take a message. But now, here's our first performer.
Good evening, fans.
What are you going to do for us today, Boris?
For a start, I do a few impersonations.
Impersonations?
Sure, once I got 2 years for impersonating officer.
Well, who are you going to do first?
Really silly character.
Who's that?
Bullwinkle Moose. Listen.
Phone in your donations to the Bullwinkle and Rocky Telethon, friends. Hey, how'd you do that? This is my natural voice.
This is funny accent.
Say, Natasha, how are the phone calls coming?
2 wrong numbers. 4 orders for chop suey. $10 for a show? Or $10 to show on Captain Red in 4th race.
The chubbies.
Rocky, how much money have we got?
We're 10 cents in the hole, Bullwinkle.
In the hole?
I gave Boris Badenoff a dime for the parking meter.
Okay, I give extra bonus impersonation. This time, Sonny Tofts.
Sonny Tofts?
Chinook, a wind that blew through Canada in the fall of 1928. But the biggest Chinook of them all was Dudley Do-Right, who blew through Canada at the turn of the century.
Farewell, Mother. I am off to the movies.
Take care of yourself, son, and don't forget to write.
Dudley spent the next 3 hours in a neighborhood theater without once seeing the picture. The reason for this was that he had fallen down a manhole and was sitting in a sewer.
Oh, my. I am guilty of trespassing.
The family code was a do-right must always do right. So the conscience-stricken lad turned himself in at the closest mounted police post, which was 500 miles away in northern Alberta. This particular post was then under the able command of Inspector Ray K. Fenwick, a full-blooded Canadian, born and raised in Bogota, Colombia.
Ordinarily, I'd give you 20 years for your crime.
You can have it for nothing if you wish.
The inspector knew a comeback when he heard it.
How would you like to be a mountie?
I would rather live in Philadelphia.
But when Dudley saw the official Mountie uniform, particularly the string attached to the pistol, he was hooked.
A Mountie I shall be.
After about an hour and a half of basic training, he was ready for his first job.
You see that jar of jelly? Read the label.
Mother Whiplash's log jam.
Right. Now spread some jam on a piece of bread and bite.
The strapping young Canadian did as he was told.
Anything happen?
Yes, sir. I've just lost 2 teeth.
That's because that so-called jam is in reality cement.
Pointing to a map, the inspector filled our hero in on a hideous but ingenious crime.
Timber is Canada's #2 industry, but lately the timber hasn't been coming down the river. That's because a devil named Snidely Whiplash has taken this log jam, poured it over the logs, and created a log jam up at the river's mouth.
Why do we not arrest him?
With an alias like Mother Whiplash? Why, we'd antagonize every mother in Canada. Oh, no. The only way to solve this problem is to dynamite the log jam and break it up. You see that satchel on the floor? It has a time bomb in it. Now you take the satchel and stick it into the log jam.
To the mouth of the river, horse. We have a deed to do.
Let us journey ahead to Mother Whiplash's log jam factory, for it is here that Snidely Whiplash faces a problem he never dreamed would come up.
What do you mean my log jam is going over big in the supermarkets? I don't want to be in the jelly business. It's too legitimate.
I wonder, Mr.
Whiplash, Snidely Whiplash.
I wonder, Mr. Whiplash, if you could spare some water. My horse has a hoarse throat.
For $4.18, the animal was permitted to quench its thirst at a nearby trough.
I'm on a secret mission, you know, which is to blow up Snidely Whiplash's log jam, Mr.
Whiplash, Snidely Whiplash. What's in the satchel?
A time bomb with which to blow up the log jam.
Curses. This lout may put a crimp into my plans. I know. I'll stop him with Eloise.
Eloise was a former manicurist who used to trim nails. Now she worked in one of Whiplash's gambling halls where she trimmed suckers.
See if you can finagle that Mountie into a game of chance.
By taking a longer route, Eloise was able to get ahead of Dudley.
Hello, handsome. How about a game of poker?
Dudley didn't play, but his horse did. They got involved in the game and never even noticed Whiplash, who made off with the satchel.
Now, that's some horse you got, Monty. So far, he's had 4 flushes and 3 inside straights.
You should see him play domino.
Do right. Where's the time bomb?
Oh, gee whinnekers, now where did I... Stop, you think...
The chase was on. Whiplash led our hero through the dense forest, then up a huge mountain until, breathless, he paused at the edge of a lofty precipice.
Gosh, this is some swell view up here.
Listen, Mounty, have pity on me. If you were to take the time bomb in this satchel and blow up my log jam, I'd be destitute. Forced to live off social insecurity. Then, too, think of Mother.
Whose mother?
Your mother, Whistler's mother, anybody's mother. Doesn't that bring a tear to your eye?
It brought a lot of tears, which is what Whiplash wanted. Poor Snidely. Of all places, that time bomb landed on his log jam. The timber flowed free, and Canada's #2 industry was saved.
Pardon me, Inspector, but about that log jam...
Not now, Do-Right. Your horse has got me stuck. All right, I'll see your 5 horse, and I raise you 50.
Well, the last we saw of Bullwinkle Moose may have been the last we saw of Bullwinkle Moose, for he had grabbed onto the mysterious ocean-going eye, determined to bring the intruder to bay. Instead, he was brought into the bay, and the only sign of him was an ominous stream of bubbles from underwater.
Hokey Smoke, break out the diving equipment, Captain. I'm going after him.
And in just a few moments, Rocky was fitted out with a diver's rig and ready to go over the side.
Captain, while I'm underwater, you keep going in circles.
That's the one thing I do best, Rocky.
Bye!
And the plucky squirrel plunged into the sea in the almost hopeless hope of finding his friend. Down and down Rocky sank until he was on the sandy bottom far beneath the sea.
Gee, it's sure gloomy down here. I better go back up and get a flashlight.
It was then that Rocky made a horrifying discovery. The diving gear was so heavy he couldn't get off the bottom. And yet, if he took it off, he'd drown before he got to the top.
Hokey Smoke, looks like Bullwinkle and I are here to stay.
Nevertheless, the soggy squirrel began to look for his friend.
Bullwinkle!
Meanwhile, many fathoms overhead, Captain Peter Peachfuzz radioed the news of our hero's plight all over the world.
Flash, Rocky Squirrel and Bullwinkle have been lost at sea.
Of course, everybody was shocked and dismayed at the tragic news. In England...
I say, Sir Digby, black tie with full dress.
It's for Rocky and Bullwinkle, old chap.
You mean?
Yes, I'm in evening mourning.
In France...
Messieurs, we face a cabinet crisis.
How comes this?
We want to drink a farewell toast to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And?
We can't find the key to the cabinet.
In the United States...
Hope is dwindling tonight for Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Too bad.
Yes, America's sweethearts seem definitely on the missing list.
Tough.
And now tonight's sports final. The Giants lost again today.
No! No!
In Frostbite Falls, Rocky and Bullwinkle's hometown, even the railroad station was draped in black crepe.
Black crepe? Heck, that's soot.
Meanwhile, back on the ocean floor, Rocky was still searching for his pal. Little did he know that someone or something was really searching for him. Yes, as Rocky moved through the murky gloom, a dark shape slithered behind him, a huge single eye glaring balefully. Then suddenly, 2 huge claws shot out and grabbed our hero.
Whoa, help! Help!
Rocky's cries for help rose upward swiftly in the form of bubbles, and then as they struck the surface...
Help! Help! Help!
Well, it looks as if Captain Peachfuzz might be the only good guy left alive on our program.
Wouldn't that be something, though? I can see it now. Peter Peachfuzz and his friends. But I digress. I must save my friend Rocky.
And casting aside all fear as well as a chance for a show of his own, Captain Wrongway Peachfuzz went overboard to the rescue. But of course he had put his diving gear on the wrong way. As a result, when he turned on his air valve, the jet of compressed air blew him clear back on board ship again. He was very surprised.
Yes, I've fallen into the water lots of times, but this is the first time I ever fell out.
Undaunted, the brave captain adjusted his air tank and dived in once more, leaving the SS Athabasco traveling in circles, wider and wider circles, till finally the ship disappeared from sight entirely. So even if our heroes come up to the top, they're still sunk. Don't miss our next episode, Terror on the Seas, or We've Only Begun to Fright.
Well, I guess that about wraps up another Rocky show.
Certainly hope you enjoyed it. I did. I always say...
Bullwinkle, time for us to go.
Already? Okay, but first, here are some of the people who made this show impossible.
That's not all.
My fingers get tired. Oop! Fell away from me again.
Well, see you next time. Ready, Bullwinkle?